What up, party people? It's hot up here. Let me know you're here. Just make a comment in the comments. I can't always see who's here. So just let me know you're here. Got quite a story today. Pretty excited about. But I don't want to start until you're all on. And I'm late. I'm like 15 minutes late. What's up with that? What? You ready to rock, you guys? Ready to rock? Ready to chat? Chat it up? You guys here with me? I can't really tell. Hey, Lovey. All right, cool. Well, if you're with me, you're with me. If not, fuck it. No, I'm just kidding. Happy Monday, right? Oh my God. We had quite a day yesterday. And I just figured I'd hop on. I haven't had time since I opened the studio to do my Monday and Fridays. But they'll come back soon, don't you worry. And the podcast is going to take over the Motivational Mondays. So, hey, Nicole. So that's coming. It's all coming. Oh, there we go. So most of you know what happened. But if you don't, let me tell you again. So I had a Black Lives Matter sign in my yard. And which is great. It's all good, right? And a lot of people do. Sign got stolen. Sorry, my internet's being funky. It's a new day, totally. So the sign got stolen, and initially my response was like to be about it, right? Because that's just, first of all, it's annoying. Not necessarily because obviously it's because the Black Lives Matter sign is very important to our family, but it's also like, why step on my property and take some stuff that's free? Come on, man. And then what I wrote was how we've talked sadness and disappointment and all those things. And it's okay to work through those and then to say what you really feel. So I wrote something to the effect of, I wish this person peace. I wish this person to release fear, right? Because all of that stuff, if you think about it, is like for someone to really go on your property and take your stuff, there's a lot of baggage that person is carrying to be able to do that. So, when we talk about all this kind of stuff, it's that's where it's really just shows up as fear, right? And so I wrote more about love than I did about fear and hate and all that kind of stuff. First of all, I don't hate anybody, right? I love all beings. All beings are beautiful, right? They're just amazing. All y'all that think differently than me too, right? Everyone. Yeah, I actually do love all beings. Yep. It's true. And I particularly love those that have fear, that do things when they feel like they need to control. So I think part of what's happening, you'll see this in it's happening all over Cape Cod, right? So a lot of the signs got taken. And so some of that, what you're seeing is like fear over control, feel like people are worried for, they're losing some of this control because people are being so strong in their being outspoken around Black Lives Matter. I talked about this yesterday too, of like the whole camp of like all lives matter, right? It's been 400 years or some plus or whatever that's documented that Black lives don't matter, right? So it's not, we're not saying, and I hate to like have to go over this again, but it just keeps coming up so many times. I'm just going to say it one more time and I'm going to be done with it. Right? Of course, if you want to think globally, right? I just said I love all beings, right? So that all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. We understand that. It's not like they don't. I just told you, right? It's that in order to make a statement so that people understand systematic racism and institutionalized racism and the history that this country was built on around slavery, around economics, and racism coming from, right? And I saw a lot of posts because this happened in Dennis to a couple people, and I live right where you. Thinking that the Black Lives Matter movement is just like a group of people that are violent and militant and looting and doing all these horrible, awful things. And that's just it. That's all that Black Lives Matter group means. So it's just misconceptions from people where they're, and so that where it came from, like, we're going to steal those horrible, awful signs because the people that are doing those things are horrible, awful, right? We know that's not true. We know that's not true. We know that's not true. So, again, it comes down to fear, right? And it's not like there's not people that are angry, that are protesting, that are doing things that, people are angry, and it comes from a place, of long-term trauma, right? And don't fool yourself. Do not be fucking fooled, okay? Media has an agenda. Media has agenda for you. Always has, right? It's a part of systematic racism. It all is. All of it is. Keep thinking critical in your mind, right? Piece it out, and know what's true for you, right? You got to really sit, because that's where the whole meditation and stuff comes in. That's why I do all this movement, mindful, and meditation stuff, so that you can really tune into what you know is true in your heart, right? So all that perception of what the Black Lives Matter means, the violence and all that kind of stuff, came from the media. There's a lot of people who were in different places, Oregon, all these places, that were posting different things that were not what you were seeing on the news. So I guess you got to be really careful about the images that are getting represented and what we believe. So, that is what it is. I didn't sit there stewing yesterday. I wrote that nice little Facebook post, and then dropped the phone for a little while and went for a walk with my family. And so, we weren't stewing about it. We talked to Blessing about it. She was initially had a reaction that was okay, she was just like, that's not cool. That's not cool. Right? She's so cute. And she talked to me about this stuff all the time. This is not a secret in our house. We talk about race and stuff all the time, right? Went for a walk. Of course, when we came back, what do we see? This amazing, beautiful sign that somebody had left us that said Black Lives Matter. So my friend Robin is the one that left it. I was so excited. She told me. So thank you. You made our day. It was just such a perfect, expression of love and of humanity. And I know humanity's still there. And I know whoever took that sign is just a hurting soul, right? You know, and lots of people sent me this, like, there's a guy going around Brewster. Someone got a picture of him. He's an old white guy. You know, if you look at the picture of him, he's pretty old. You know, it doesn't look very happy, right? So it's like, I don't really care who took the sign. I'm not going to go call the police. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm more interested in celebrating that we got a sign, that we got a sign back, that we have friends. I mean, I got so many beautiful everybody, because I think what ends up happening is that people really tuned into the fact that, like, not only did it harm our family in terms of the recognizing Black Lives Matter, but also like the violation. So it's not just the violation of coming on my property and taking it off, the violation of us as people of color. And that was hard. That was really, really hard, you know, to sit with. Again, not surprised. I was kind of like, I knew the risk of putting the sign out, right? That's just where people are at right now. That's where we're at, right? It's causing a lot of tension. It's causing a lot of fear. It's also causing a lot of breakthroughs for people to understand what's going on in the world right now. And for that, I'm super, super thankful, like so thankful, right? I feel like there's more loving and more understanding than there is of harming and hurting, even though that is still present. That is still very present, right? And we're seeing it out loud very much so, more than we have before, right? So in some ways, I think it's good. I think that people are understanding where people are at. I think that the people are learning along the way. And again, everything is a process. Everything is not black and white, right? See how I did that? Right? We all learn. It's all a journey. We're learning as we go, myself included, right? Myself included. So coming home to that sign was the best thing ever. Blessing was super happy. Having that moment and celebrate, you know, so it kicked us into a different direction of really needing to celebrate this out loud and to continue to do it no matter what happens, right? That's how you live love. The other thing I want to say is, like, so I always talk about collective suffering, and here's what's fascinating to me, which is really good. So it may sound like I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's a great thing. The fact that I talked about blessing, right? So I talked about, we had to tell her that happened, right? So I got the sign, obviously, because I believe Black Lives Matter and I want to stand for that, but mainly so that she can understand that during all of this, right? She catches wind of stuff. She knows all that's happening right now. She's in fear of things in her life, right? So I talked about that, and that, you know, some of that seemed far away, not so close to us. That came real close to home yesterday, particularly for her, because someone walked on our property and took that. And so I had to explain to her, you know, around the fear, around why some people might do that, around it's not going to change us in the way that we think, and we're going to love no matter what. But it did mean to her that's, you know, this person could be next door. That's some scary shit, right? That's really, really scary. So when I talk about collective suffering, I think what resonated for people so much yesterday is that moms heard that, right? It's the same when we talk about George Floyd and, like, he called out for his mom. Yeah, this movement in part is happening because we can tap into what it feels like in our bodies, in our wombs, in our hearts. Yeah, to have things happen to your children that are really hard to take, right? That's good. We got to stay with that, though. We can't just let it go. So, you know, we got the beautiful sign. We were happy. We were doing things outside, but Blessing clearly was not okay. The way that she expresses that is to get super hyper and very anxious. So she's hyper anyway, but she does this when she's like overtired. She gets like super hyper. She doesn't crash. And finally, I just went up to her and I said, "What is going on? Your energy is so high. What do we need to talk about?" And she just burst into tears and just crying that she was so afraid that the person was going to come back into our house and hurt us or do something. And, so afraid. And she cried through it and was so proud that she did that, because that's hard, right? She's little. It's hard for adults to do that, to connect, with the behavior of what's happening in your body. And she did that. As a mom, that was heart wrenching, right? It's the second time something like that has happened with her around race. So yeah, I'm taking a deep breath because it's getting me a little right now. I think that's in terms of racism and like what people need to hear. Like those are the nuances that you don't see, right? So you don't see those. That's not going to necessarily get on the news, right? Her tears, right? Her fear, right? Her fear for there's people out there that are doing things that are harmful to people of color. That's a really real thing. That's a real thing right now. Yeah. And everyone's sort of just like out there right now. I was talking to my husband the other day, and he's a white guy, and I was like, how come you're not afraid, when you walk, like when I walk with her in the grocery store, because she's so dark, so beautiful, but so dark, right? And people are just living in such a place of fear now. He's like, I don't feel that way. Like, they don't look at her life as like, immediately that her life's in danger. And there's the difference right there, right? There's nothing bad or wrong, again, about that for him. He just has a difference. He's a white guy, right? He just has a different lens. But he's glued in now. Isn't he though, right? It happened on his house. And it doesn't mean, right? It doesn't mean we're necessarily going to get hurt. It's so present that that's possible. But it's always been possible. Again, this is not new. It's just that people are so in fight. So, hanging on to like what? They're so afraid to lose, right? They're just afraid to lose themselves and what they fought for and what they own and what they've, built and what worked so hard to create, it's like the whole bootstraps mentality of like some people really, and it's hard. I get that when like you have that and you don't see the race piece there, because you're like, everyone says privilege and everyone thinks they're talking about money, and there's this like, we're not talking about money, we're talking about opportunities that you have based solely on skin color. That's it. This is not like a very hard concept, although it's become very complicated. So simplify it. Again, come back to meditation, come back to and just checking in with you. We're all human beings, right? We're moms. We're all moms in some way. We're all dads in some way. That collective suffering that I always talk about, right? So yeah, that's all there. And I saw this thing this morning with some sports guys where they have the Black Lives Matter t-shirts, and they're now they're all kneeling, and some people are so upset about that, and this whole thing. And police, it's like, you can't, we're anti-police. No, we're just anti-police brutality. We're anti-police harming of color for no fucking reason. That's it. I love police. Like, come on. It's like, you can't, there's no room for like just to have different levels of thought and love. But the picture I saw this morning was such a beautiful statement about that, right? So this white guy was standing, he didn't kneel, but he had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, and his two sports guys were kneeling, and they were holding his leg, and he had his hand on their shoulders. So like, there it is, right? Some people really respect the flag in that way, and their lives have been built on fighting for this country, and they believe that the flag is what you should stand for, and so they have their hearts up, right? That's their thing. We also believe that in a lot of ways that represents inequality harm to certain groups of people, right? And it's not necessarily just a flag. It's that's, it came from Colin and this whole thing, but you guys get it. My point here is you can have two very different ideals and love each other at the same time. It is so possible. It doesn't have to be this like, you're on Black Lives Matter now, I'm gonna steal your sign. Because that's how it's gonna do something, which it's not, right? I don't know. Maybe the guy wants to talk to me. I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to talk about all of this. It doesn't have to be so. I mean, it can be because needing to really hang on to who they are, right? But that is okay too. That is okay too. But it's okay to just talk about, right? And have people listen and have people understand and have people say, I see you, I witness you, and I don't agree, right? I do that all the time, right? There's all the police reform stuff, and some people I know really are against it. Some people I know really are for it, right? There's both sides to both of it. Some which are great, some which are, not. It came out fast, but that's not bad. It's just like I have different ways of thinking about everything. I was listening to Glennon Doyle yesterday because she's my favorite freaking person in the whole goddamn world. I've read her book like 10 times. And she was talking about her like sexuality, right? When she saw Abby and she was like, everyone kept asking me if I was now gay. And she was like, I just really love this person. Like there's a way to operate in the world. We don't have to have categories. There's categories matter. They really do matter. And the point is to say all lives can't matter until we recognize the harm that's been done to people of color for so many years. And that's where we are right now, right? There's nothing it's all fluid. It's all fluid, right? It's so fluid. So let yourself be in the fluid place, right? Like some people get defensive when people post stuff on Facebook and then a person of color comments and they're like, that doesn't work for me, right? That doesn't feel good to me. And then there's this litany of like defense of like, I understand my privilege, but like it goes on forever. It's okay for a person of color to say that does not work for me. And it's okay if there's anger attached, right? Just let it be, right? There's this thing called ego, right? We talk about it in the spiritual world. We talk about it in yoga. We talk about it, I talk about it in my coaching. Step away from your ego, right? So the ego is just it's that thing, right? That hangs on to everything that you think that you need and you think that you want and you think that, recognize who you are. Really, it's like this narcissistic thing that just kind of hangs out. Yeah. But it's a beautiful way to teach you what you need to learn, right? That's why we observe the ego, right? So when you get defensive about something, that's the ego speaking, right? It's fear. A lot of times it's fear, but it's there to teach us. So it's not like bad. It's just there to teach us. So when you get those reactions, just, observe, right? I initially had the reaction like, what motherfucker took my sign? So pissed off, like, who the, right? It was like 2 minutes. And then I'm like, what is that going to do? What on earth is that going to do? Nothing. It's just going to hurt my body to stay in anger. You see that? That's all that's going to do. It's not going to change him. What might change him is maybe he'll see what I posted and wishing him peace and love and all the light in the world. Yeah. It takes a lot of like, you got to be really internally not happy to do that. Right? We always talk about this with like people in addiction and recovery and people in jail. And, I love all of the people. Those actions they're just actions based on emotions, like if they're negative actions and where you're at the time, right? And a lot of people that, are in recovery have done a lot of stupid stuff that they wouldn't have chose to otherwise, right? So you got to still look at them like they're a whole person, because they are. We've all done some stuff. Yeah, you person, whoever's in here being like, no, I haven't done anything. You have. I've done lots of stuff. So let me know if you guys have questions, comments. That's all I got for you today. I just wanted to share that because I know there was people who were trying to connect with me on like social media yesterday, and I was trying to like just kind of stay off a little bit. But I just wanted to like share and just say thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for being so sweet to my family. Blessing is doing okay. She'll get through this, right? We all will. We all will. Yeah. And there's good things coming. There are really, really good things coming, right? If nothing else, I'm hoping that COVID has taught you that life is super, super precious, right? You can get into all the political conspiracy theories about it, but let's bring it back down. And maybe it's just taught us that love is real. Connection is needed. Connection is really, really needed, right? So find those ways to stay connected if you can, in a way that's safe. Yeah. And just stay loving, right? And also stay like curious. Right? Like, what does that mean? Stay curious. So when I talked about the ego and when people are posting things or saying things that are so different than you, so different from your point of view, stay curious about where that's coming from for them. Like, where might that be coming from? And why is it stirring so much stuff in you, right? Yeah. And people can say a lot of racist stuff. And it's complicated as a mom because I think at this point my reaction is so like mama bear, like, trying to protect my kid on social media, which is just dumb, right? But that stirs that up. But I just gotta be aware of that, right? That's okay. She knows I'll protect her. She knows, the best thing I can do is just keep loving her and talking to her about it. And recognizing it's okay to be afraid, right? Like there wasn't one part of me that said, this isn't scary yesterday. It is. It totally is, right? So to try to make that go away right now doesn't make any sense, right? The children can see the authenticity and truth of you, and she can also feel my anxiety, right? And she can feel when I'm strong and in power and in love, right? Just standing in love, right? So the tears went away. She initially was still hyper, but it started to dissipate. Yeah. So just gotta hang in there with each other, you guys, and celebrate more. Celebrate more. Yeah. And thank you for not commenting so crazy on the post. Like it was all loving things that people responded. I was really, really happy about that because I get it. Like people were really upset for me, like really upset for me. It's a sign of love. It's just a sign of love. And I totally appreciate that. Right. But no one like bashed whoever it was. I'm saying a guy, maybe it's a girl. I don't know. No one bashed whoever it was. Right. So that's where we're at today. We'll be somewhere different tomorrow. Right. Like my girl said, it's a new day. So, yeah, I'll keep you posted on all things wonderful and coming up. There's a lot going on with the studio, but I don't want to cut, too much information at once. Sometimes our brains really can't take all that in. So this is all I have to say about that today. Have a wonderful day. Love you guys. Peace out.